When you're 19, you should be having the time of your life. This is when everything is a possibility. This should not be the end of your life. And the worst part is it's really bad when your family cannot find the closure they need because your body has not been found. This is exactly what it's like for Jessica O'Grady and her family, who had last seen her May 10th of 2006. This is her story. So, welcome back. Uh, if you're new here, welcome. I am Sean, and I try to do true crime videos. I usually just pick some of the odd ones that you never heard of. There's so many out there, and there's so many mainstream ones that people do that it doesn't help out with the ones that are not known. A lot of times when I do this, I am going to be victim heavy, meaning that I want to try to showcase the victim because the suspect is a POS, in my opinion, usually. So yeah, I'm just trying to do the family and the victim justice for you, the viewing audience. So anyhow, I do want to address one thing. I had a comment from somebody saying they don't like my delivery. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming it's the way I speak. Um, I'm still relatively new at this. I mean, I've been doing it for a year, but I'm still relatively new at it. But the problem is with my speech. It's just who I am. And I'm sorry if that disturbs you, but I mean, there's people out there that ramble, 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 ramble really, really, really fast. That's not me. I'm trying to choose my words properly and do the best thing I can for the story I'm telling. So if I'm going too slow, I do apologize. I am trying to speed up. I'm trying a new thing with this video, so let's see how that goes. So on with Jessica's story. Jessica O'Grady was a lively and free-spirited teen who was extremely close with her family and friends. Uh, she was out on her own, living with two of her close friends, Holly Stumey and Tracy Christensen. They were living in Omaha, Nebraska. I guess I should have said that first. Holly and her had been friends since the 5th grade, and Jessica was also very close with her aunt, Shauna Stanzel. I hope I didn't butcher that name, but I believe it's Stanzel. And they used to talk daily. Jessica was working as a waitress at a steakhouse, the Lone Star in Omaha, Nebraska, and that's where she met Christopher Edwards. Holly later testified that Jessica would talk about Edwards often and that he even was at their apartment the day before Jessica went missing. And the day she went missing was the 10th of May. And it was that evening that Jessica and her roommates were entertaining some of their friends at their apartment. And Jessica was basically sending and receiving texts most of the night. They all assumed that it was from Edwards. Eventually, she received a call uh, sometime in the 10 o'clock hour at night, that is. And she took a quick shower, fixed her hair, put on makeup, and left the apartment. It was somewhere between 11 and 11:15 that she left the apartment. She told her friends that she was going over to Edward's place and to wish her luck, and she would see them later. Edwards lived around the 120th and Blondo Street in Omaha. He was living in his sister's basement. And at around 11:30 that night, Jessica spoke to Carrie Peterson. She called her up to tell her that she was going to Edwards. So I mean, like I said, she's really close knit with her friends and everything to keep them in touch of what she's doing. An hour later, so a little bit after midnight, Carrie got a text message from Jessica saying, "No shenanigans for Jessica." Carrie later explained that this was a code word or code saying that she wasn't going to get sex. So apparently, shenanigans must mean not getting any sex. And she used to talk to Jessica daily. So the next day, she was concerned when she couldn't reach her. Holly, her roommate, was also unable to reach Jessica. And then on Friday, Holly went to Jessica's aunt, Shauna, and told her that she couldn't find Jessica. Shauna had already been trying to reach Jessica too because they spoke almost daily. She said that she left messages for her on Thursday and then also on Friday. So Shauna decided to contact Jessica's mother to see if she heard from her. She had not. Shauna's husband decided that he's going to call the police. I don't know what happened at that point because it was just a little bit of a quip that says that he called the police. Because then, this was Friday, and then on Sunday, Shauna met with Jessica's friends at her apartment. All of Jessica's things were still there, including her cat, which she referred to as her baby. They knew this was peculiar, that she wouldn't have left all this stuff here if she decided to go off someplace or, stay someplace for too long. She would have taken some of her stuff. So Shauna also went to the Lone Star, and they said that Jessica hadn't picked up her current paycheck. While she was there, she spoke to Edwards. He told her that he had not heard from her since May 9th when he was at her apartment. He said that they did have plans to get together on the 10th, but he had to cancel those plans. So Shauna never heard from Jessica again after the 10th. There were no changes in her bank account after May 10th, 2006. Her vehicle was found in a parking lot across the street from her employer. Her phone records showed that she would make a call daily to people. Like, she made calls repeatedly to certain people, like her sister, her aunt, and her friends, and things like this. But it showed that all those calls had stopped on May 10th. Her last one was at 11:29 to Carrie, and then 11:48 to Edwards. All the calls on her phone went straight to voicemail after that point in time. Michelle Wilkins was dating Edwards, and they had a serious conversation on May 8th about getting married. She was pregnant with his kid, so they figured that they should settle down and get married. Later, after he was being investigated, he told her that he had actually slept with Jessica and that she might have been pregnant too. So he didn't want this to come out in the investigations and for Michelle to get ticked off about it. On May 10th, before Jessica disappeared, Edwards was out golfing with Riley Wasserberger and Alex Ely. Both men recall that he was talking about how he got some girl pregnant and he didn't know what to do, and they don't recall a name, so they didn't know if he is talking about Jessica or Michelle. After golfing, the three of them went to a movie, which got out around 11:30 at night. And this is when Edwards left alone and said that he's going home. Um, which kind of coincides with his conversation with her at whatever 11:46 at night that they talked. But I don't know why she left around 11 o'clock to go find him. I don't know if she was texting or if he was texting and saying, "Hey, why don't you come over to my place?" Yeah, I don't know. They never went into that much. I'm just pulling from what I can from court records and stuff like that. Um, the police started interviewing everyone in Jessica's life, including Edwards. They obtained permission to search his bedroom, which was in the basement of his aunt's house, like I said. When the detectives started to approach his bed, he said that he was unsure if he really wanted the cops to look over there. They said that, maybe she hid a note under his bed or something that would help them find her. He thought, oh, that's probably a good idea. So, yeah, go ahead and go on over there and check the bed. Well, they did check the bed, and they found splattered blood all over the nightstand, the headboard, clock radio, ceiling of the bed, and the ceiling above the bed. Uh, when asked about it, Edwards said that he had cut his wrist, and that was just blood splatter from his wrist, apparently spurting blood all over the place. It could have been. But then, when they removed covers off the mattress, they found a blood stain on the top of the mattress. He explained that it was just menstrual blood, that he and his girlfriend had sex while she was on her period. Plausible, the cops thought. So they flipped over the mattress. There, they found a large, damp blood stain. I had to blur it out on the picture because I don't know what the YouTube standards are for it, but it was pretty gross. So, I mean, it filled up, as you can see, most of the mattress. And he had flipped it over or something. Well, they continued to look around and they found more bloodstains on the bedding, a chair, a bookcase, and a laundry basket. They used luminol, which is a substance that highlights blood under a black light. And they found a large area that suggested there was blood all over the south and west walls that had already been previously cleaned up. There was also a stain that appeared to be blood on the ceiling, but it was covered up by some kind of paint. Later, it was determined that it was called poster paint that covered that up. In the closet, they found a Bangkok blade sword, and that had blood on it. In Edward's vehicle was a shovel and a pair of gardening shears. And in the garage next to his car was a black trash bag with 2 blood-soaked towels and a receipt from a drugstore in Omaha. That must have been some wrist cut to produce that much blood. Or a heavy flow for the girlfriend, I don't know. So the police went to that drugstore and obtained the video. And It showed him there on May 11th, 2006, around 7:41 p.m. While he was there, he bought some poster paint, white shoe polish, and whiteout correcting fluid. Um, so the police ran a DNA profile, and when they got it back, it was like 1 in 50 trillion% chance that it was not Jessica's. I don't know if I said that right. It was Jessica's DNA. It was very consistent to Jessica's DNA profile. His laptop was also removed from the bedroom, and it was in the search warrant. And they searched that computer using forensics. And on May 9th, 2006, he researched the human body. He researched where arteries were in the human body. And the first thing that he looked up was human, like a diagram of a human artery system. In June of 2006, the state charged Edwards with second-degree murder and use of a deadly weapon to commit a felony in connection with Jessica's disappearance. At this time, Nebraska had never convicted somebody of murder without a body. And even though the trial was mostly based on circumstantial evidence, there was one key witness that the prosecution had to make their case. Detectives had a forensic consultant, Stuart James. He analyzed all the blood stains. He determined that the blood on the mattress was a saturation stain. This basically meant that a large volume of blood had been on that mattress and soaked into the fabric. He said that this was a significant bloodshed that would make it this saturated. And it either happened on the mattress or near the mattress. He analyzed all the blood spatter in the area of the room, and he said that this blood spatter that was on the walls and the ceiling and everything was cast off. It would have been caused by 7 individual swings with something that was wet with blood in it. He said this was consistent with a small, thin object, kind of like the sword that was found in the closet. So that was pretty damning evidence. And, he was asked if that amount of blood, if somebody could have survived losing that amount of blood. And he was pretty convinced that it would have been a fatal wound. With that amount of blood, that would have been fatal to whoever lost it. So the trial went through, and on March 31st of 2007, Edwards was found guilty. Now, I could be wrong. I found one article that said that it was March 31st. A lot of other articles that said in April. I searched and searched for the exact date, but this was the only one that said March 31st. So I'm going with that. His sentence did not begin until June, so that was kind of weird. The jury only spent 11 hours deliberating the case, and he was sentenced to 80 years to life with another 20 years to life, making it a 100-year sentence. He will not be eligible for parole until June 6th of 2056. Her aunt, Shauna, was interviewed after he was convicted, and she said that more than likely she would be deceased before he ever gets a parole hearing. I don't know how old she is, um, so she felt pretty just on that. Well, as just as you can find. He didn't speak at his sentencing, but his father did. And his father offered to match the $10,000 that Jessica's family had offered for any evidence to locate Jessica, because he said that if they located her, then that would exonerate his son, and he was convinced his son was innocent. Uh, Edwards did try to appeal a number of times so far. I think the last time was 2018. But the courts kept denying him. And there was a detective that was found guilty after all this was done for planting evidence in other cases. So that was one of his reasonings that he thinks that he should have a retrial. And one of the places was in the car, which here's the picture for that. He they because people said that they searched that car over and over, and all of a sudden he found this little blood drop on this little spot there. Now the courts looked at all the evidence and they said, okay, well, the couple pieces that he personally found in this court case was so minuscule that it really didn't matter. It his damning evidence was the mattress mainly, and they basically threw out that appeal because it's like, you know what? He didn't plant all the evidence on the mattress, so we still think you're guilty. So I don't know if he has any other appeals or not. One of the questions that I have for this case, though, and I've read it someplace else, is that he lived down in the basement of his aunt's house. So if he, how did he get rid of her body? And where did he place it? One theory is that he has an accomplice, or that he told somebody, hey, you know what, I need help with this. And somebody came and helped him take her body out and dispose of it someplace. So there could be somebody out there that knows exactly where her body is. The other one was about the phone. They were telling that they tracked like what calls she made that night, but they didn't say anything about the texts. And that's the only thing that I was curious about with the texts is, you know, she was getting texts before 11 o'clock and she split. Who was she getting the text from? Were they seriously from Edwards? And I'm not sure. But it's one of those sad stories that, okay, the killer got caught, but the family doesn't get the closure. There's no doubt in my mind that he did something. With that amount of blood, yeah. But it's that aftermath after he killed her to when she vanished from the face of this earth. One thing I was reading is that the cadaver dogs thought they got a scent at his dad's house, and around that same time they built a deck on the back of the house, and police went there, destroyed it all, dug everything up, and found nothing. So then, of course, the city had to pay to get it all put back together. Um, but he refuses to say anything. Um, they've offered him like lesser sentences and stuff like that if he says something where he put her body, and he's like, no. I mean, that tells me that he's guilty if he's saying no. Because I mean, the articles that I was reading, he was basically saying, no, I'm not going to tell you. Well, if you're innocent, wouldn't you say, no, I didn't do it? I have no idea. But I didn't read any articles where it said that. It just said he told them no. So I don't know. It's pathetic that he would do something like that just because his girlfriend is pregnant and he got her pregnant. She should never have lost her life over that. Um, so for the friends and family of Jessica O'Grady, I'm so sorry. I wish there was something I could say or do to take away that pain, take away that not knowing. Um, but there's not. And I'm almost convinced that there's somebody out there that knows something. There has to be somebody that knows something. Because I've looked at pictures of Edwards. He's a scrawny guy. I don't know how he would have lifted her up and taken her out of the house. And pruning shears wasn't going to be enough to do a lot of damage. So I don't know. But I'm sorry. I hope the family is a little bit easier now. But I know it probably isn't. It's one of those things. I mean, you don't have her body, so you're never going to be able to lay it to rest. And you're never going to be able to fully move on. That's why, if there's somebody out there and they're actually listening to this and you know something, take your licks, man. Take your time in prison. Let her family know. Let her family breathe a sigh of relief that they can bury their daughter, their sister, their cousin, their niece, their friend. Or you can just live the rest of your life as a coward, knowing that you did nothing but help somebody dispose of a crime. Okay, I'm done preaching. Jessica, please, I hope wherever you're at, you're resting well. Everyone else, thank you for watching. Yeah, I'm sorry, my brain's stuck on this. So thank you for watching. Love you all. Please like, follow, share, comment. Hopefully this one was good. So everyone take care. Until next time, I'm Sean.